want to start by saying that I'm creating a series of videos for the internet, not because it's been my lifelong desire to create a series of videos, but over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, my life has had some interesting twists and turns, and I've gone from agnostic to more of a spiritual, metaphysical being, largely because either I have completely lost my mind or there is something out there communicating with me. And because the way that they came forward into my space was pretty difficult for me to ignore, I felt that I should go ahead and follow up on those things that they've asked me to do. So, that being said, I do want to tell you that I'm a hypnotist, and according to the universe, I'm a master spiritual teacher. I want you to understand that I am not ignorant to the fact that everything that I will probably share in my videos from this point forward won't be a revelation to everyone, and in fact shouldn't be a revelation to anyone. Everything I'm sharing, according to the universal wisdom, is already in us. It's in our DNA, it's in our knowledge pool, it's in our super and subconscious mind. What it isn't is readily available while our ego encapsulated self is layered on the top. So I want to go through a little bit about, in this first video, how I was compelled to come forward and begin to speak about what's been downloaded into my mind and expressed to me through the voices of my clients. When I was agnostic, it wasn't that I never thought there was anything greater than mankind, quite to the contrary. I couldn't believe that if there was a supreme being, that the earth and the way we function as a society, even if you look at most societies on earth, with the exception of some of the Aboriginal and Native tribes that seem to have a pretty cohesive and very close to nature, bond, I couldn't imagine this was the best that a creator could do. But I did think there were some interesting and miraculous components to our life, and so, that being said, I kept my options open. Now, what's been given to me has been given to the earth many times over. 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 6 months ago, 6,000 years ago, 600,000 years ago. There's been a lot of evolutions of mankind and a lot of material presented. I suppose one of the most prominent pieces of work transmitted down to humanity, probably that's well known, would be books such as the Bible, the Quran, the Kabbalah, different materials, Tao Te Ching, the Buddhist philosophies that have been recorded. So there isn't any way I could begin to say that I have information that's new, that's riveting because it's never been heard before, or that I'm going to tilt the world on its axis by simply my bringing it forth. But I will say that it has been given to me that it is my job to help tilt the world up from the third dimension to the fifth. And I'm not going into why we're skipping the fourth, but it's time for an evolution of the thought process of humanity. And I have been asked and told that I came here on the sheer agreement and purpose to help assist in rolling up the masses into the new vibration. Now, there was a time when I first got into this that I just naturally assumed the masses was humanity as a whole. And it's not that I am not here to help humanity, I am. But there's a contingency of energy on the planet that far exceeds the human form. And for a while I got into energy healing, not Reiki, but very similar to Reiki. And while it did help some individuals with their energy evolution, I was told it wasn't enough of an education because we were doing things for people, but we weren't telling them what we were really doing and how we were doing it and how it manifested and what they needed to do to ensure that the process remained in place, that the healing was permanent, that the vibrational pattern shift was not temporary. And I was given some information to look at and to see that simply casting energy that we deemed low or substandard out of someone didn't really change the vibrational pattern of the earth. It made some shifts for a few people for however long they were able to avoid walking back into that similar energy. But as long as their cellular base, and we'll get into all the emotional and depth of this in other sections, was stuck where it was, they couldn't evolve and hold it because their pattern, their history, their emotional state was to slip back into that old pattern. And not that some couldn't hold a higher, what we call higher vibration, longer than others, that they didn't receive some benefit that could be lasting. I'm not saying that's not true. But for true vibrational pattern change, there has to be knowledge brought forth, rediscovered, re-accepted, and not really relearned, more remembered. And my job was to stroke and vibrate the memory and to bring humanity along with all the tracking energies that seek asylum within a human body, to bring all the energy up into the higher vibrational pattern, not just to do something for humanity. Humanity is a giant piece of the energy on the planet. We are the highest energy source on the planet and the highest strain, um, by the same measure. We are vital, but it's not vital that all of us be here and remain here for the transition. So those of us that are willing to shift with the other energies that are willing to shift and change the vibrational pattern can remain, live out our lives, do the things we need to do, and accept some of the changes and shifts that are going to take place on Mother Earth. Those that can't will be simply swept off. It's important, I think, to note in this very first upload that there isn't really death. Although we see death, we feel death, we mourn death, and so it becomes a truth for us. It's truly part of our ego and the belief that we're just so damn valuable that if one of us, child or anything, is scraped off, that there's going to somehow be a big shift in the planet and it can't go forward. There is no one being, myself included, that's indispensable to the planet. If I wasn't here to do this job, there are thousands of others that would be given their memories to come forward and do it. So, that being said, I'm not dismissing anyone's loss. If you've lost someone, I'm not saying it doesn't feel real to you. I'm saying to the planet, there's going to be a lot of us go. And so, beginning to accept the new vibration is important if you want to remain here. If you don't, it's not important. Spirit tells me all the time that transition back to spirit and to the next evolution is way easier than birth. So if you got here and you survived birth, getting out of here is a cakewalk. Even if it looks like you languished and suffered, to everybody here, Spirit says accepting gravity, coming into the planet, to the earth plane, and being pulled into third dimension from a higher realm is the most difficult transition we make. I want to say that at times I may use the word low vibration or high vibration, evil, good, bad, whatever. And that's really just because that's a commonly accepted terminology and understanding. I do understand and believe that the duality as we see it and that was expressed through the Buddhist philosophy is a concept just like time that is a delusion. The universe doesn't see anything as bad, good, better, or worse, just as different. We've been existing in a particular vibrational pattern that I'm going to call lower, simply because it's involved a lot of energy on energy transgressions, things that we do to another energetic maneuvers and machinations that maybe aren't of what we would think of in our human mind of the highest elevation. Everything is a learning pattern, just like time is here just for us to learn, and when we shift, time will go away. So, as we process through this information and I express more and more, what I say in the beginning may seem to be completely different from what I express as we go forward for a couple of reasons. I can't start out at the level of understanding that I have now and have anyone follow that because it would be very difficult. I also can't start at the top because it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't turn on the memory that you have. And I need to reignite the memories of those that are tuning in to understand what's coming forward. Also, there isn't any way to describe how I began and how I went forward if I don't start with my understanding in the base and go to where I am now. So everything that I'm bringing forward is coming in a pattern, sort of as how I learned it. I may throw in some concepts, higher concepts, so that if you're listening in and you already are elevated beyond this beginning, you won't think that I don't have some higher concepts. Just understand these beginning audio messages are for those. I want to start at the beginning. I don't want to offend anyone. I'm not out to chastise anyone for their beliefs. I'm not making a judgment. If you have a strong religious affiliation, I'm not saying you have to sever it. I will give my opinions on what I think, believe, and understand about theories, concepts, ideas, spirituality, religious organizations, religious disorganizations, as I think may be more appropriate at times, usership of humanity, the reptilians, other extraterrestrial beings, the angelic realm, archangels, who gets to come into a body, the Akashic record, spiritual understandings, metaphysics, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, emotions, energy, thought, universal laws. All of those different concepts are things that I will go through in short 15-minute sort of incremental classes. I live in Florida. I teach classes in Florida live. I work as a hypnotherapist and a hypnotist. I'm well versed in chakras and cleansing them. Maybe not to the degree of some people who could tell you a lot more about chakras, but what has been given to me has come to me typically through channelings when someone goes into a hypnotic state in my practice and spiritual beings come in and tell me what I need to know. What I do need to know is that when I do a session for someone, it's largely unique. I cannot tell you when I've had the same thing come up twice because we're all different. We all have different minds, different levels of ego interference, different chakra imbalances. So for me to go in and have one modality and just do it every time for someone as they came to see me, Spirit says would be a disservice. So I don't have any scripts. And when I go into a session with a client, I take a deep breath and know that whatever's going to come will come. And I just begin to follow whatever comes into my mind. It's always unique. It's always sort of amazing. And I do document all of my sessions with a video so that, I can examine them or the client can look at it to see what transpired because often there are physical events that take place and on many occasions beings that come in and speak through them. Although I will say that rarely when a being comes into a client does the client ever call me or tell me they've watched it, and when I check back with them, very often they haven't. I'm a vehicle. I am not by any means the source of enlightenment. I'll go into other topics following that. But I thank you for tuning into this first video, and I can't wait to get started with a little more meat in the next section. Namaste.